Hello guys, and welcome to my first lesson on genetics. I'm very excited because today we'll start our lessons. Okay, so if you're new here, my name is Yetambuyu or Mrs. Nachi, so you can call me Yeta or Mrs. Nachi. Okay, so our first lesson on introduction to genetics, we're going to start by looking at the cell. So this is an animal cell, and we know that in cells we have the process of mitosis and meiosis. And at meiosis or mitosis, the chromatids become condensed and form the chromosomes. So this is a chromosome that we can see here. Okay, so the chromosome carries the DNA, and DNA is a strand that carries genetic material. So inside the DNA we find what is known as a gene. So each gene genes carry characteristics. We have different characteristics. These are some of the characteristics that we have. Examples include height, eye color, blood group, skin color, sickle cell, and etc. So we're going to start by looking at the terminologies that we find in genetics, or the language in genetics. We'll start by looking at genes and alleles. So we'll start by defining what a gene is. A gene is found, it is part of a chromosome that carry genetic material called DNA. So the genes carry characteristics in other words, and then we have alleles. These alleles are alternative forms of genes, and they are found on homologous chromosomes. So we have one gene carries one we're going to be using symbols or any of the letters from the alphabet. Okay, so if we have, for instance, if we have A representing a certain characteristic, we're going to have a capital letter A and a small letter a, and these are found into three. They make up three genotypes, which are three possible allelic combinations. So we're going to first, we need to understand as well what an allele is. So in other words, when we talk about allele as being an alternative form of a gene, for instance, we can also say that alleles also can be said as variations. They show variations or different kinds or different types of the same characteristic. So for instance, we have an example here where we have two alleles represented or denoted by the capital letter H and the small letter h. Okay, so the capital letter H is known as, the capital letters are known as dominant alleles, or they represent dominant alleles, while recessive alleles are represented by small letters. So I have a definition for what a recessive allele is and what a dominant allele is. So a dominant allele expresses its effects in the presence of a recessive allele, while a recessive allele does not express itself in the presence of a dominant allele. Okay, so we get back to our lesson. So we have an example there. We have a characteristic of height, and we're going to be using H as a dominant allele, that is capital letter H, and small letter h as a recessive allele. And there are three possible allelic combinations where we have two dominant alleles, homozygous dominant, meaning two of the same alleles in this case which are dominant. Then you have heterozygous, which has two different alleles. We have a dominant allele and a recessive allele, and then we have homozygous recessive, where we have two recessive alleles. And then genotype, we're just talking about the allelic combinations, which are homozygous dominant, heterozygous, homozygous recessive. Okay, so let's go now to our example. Okay, so this is an example because we want to understand what height, what a gene is and what an allele is. So here we have a characteristic which is height. So this height can be expressed by two different alleles. We have a dominant allele, which is capital letter H, controlling the effect of tallness. Then we have small letter h controlling the effect of shortness. But both these alleles are controlling the same characteristic, which is height. So we have this here on the this side where I've said genotypes. Those are the three possible genotypes, and they bring out the effects of the phenotype. Phenotype is what we see on the outside appearance. So for homozygous dominant, we have a tall person there. Heterozygous, you have a medium or a person who is tall or medium, and then we have recessive. For homozygous recessive, you have a short person there. Okay, so I have some diagrams which I want to show you guys. So this is what I was explaining when we were talking about what a chromosome is, how they are formed during the process of meiosis, and that there is a chromosome showing the part of the DNA and the genes there. Okay, and we also have these other diagrams represent showing us the heterozygous, what heterozygous is and what homozygous is. So guys, make sure that you follow for more interesting videos. For today, our lesson is going to end here, so you make sure you like this video and share. Thank you very much for your attention, and I love you all.